This is none other than Glamrock Freddy. Or is it? Well, some people argue no. But why would anyone think that? Isn't it literally just Glamrock Freddy? You'd think so, but look closer. Closer than that? There. There is something distinctly different about this Glamrock Freddy compared to the one we see in Security Breach. But why would they do this? Why would they introduce an entirely new Glamrock Freddy model in Ruin for absolutely no reason? Especially considering the confusing story that Security Breach already featured? Well, my friends, this Proto Freddy is actually the same from the base game Security Breach, and I can prove it. Let's dive into the mystery of Prototype Glamrock Freddy. So, what's the deal with this guy? As with everything in this convoluted series, we don't exactly know. Of course, this doesn't stop people from coming up with theories, and I have one of my own today. I believe that the Freddy we see in Ruin is, in fact, the same Freddy we see in Security Breach. My first reason for this I mentioned in the intro. Why in the world would they introduce an entirely new Freddy model that we've never seen before just for this one chase scene in Ruin? You all saw how the community reacted to the story of Security Breach in the first place, right? Imagine how people would get with this random detail out of nowhere in the DLC. It simply just doesn't make any sense. Despite that though, some people are still convinced that this Freddy is different. If you're someone who believes this, I have some other reasons why this guy is in fact the exact same as this guy. One of which is the fact that these two models are exactly the same. Look at them. Despite the damage, the parts of Ruin Freddy that are still intact look identical to how he appears in the base game. Now, obviously Fazbear Entertainment could have most definitely manufactured multiple of these animatronic characters, but later in the video I'll explain why that is in fact unlikely, especially in the case of the Glamrocks. Another point I would like to make is about the damage itself. Look at this ending in Security Breach, the Princess Quest ending. Notice anything? That's right. The damage that Freddy sustains from this ending perfectly matches the damage we see in Ruin, even down to his head missing. In my opinion, that makes it so obvious that this is in fact the same Freddy. The fact that Princess Quest is most likely the canon ending for Security Breach makes this make even more sense. Although I do believe that there are multiple canon endings in that game, this one is one of them and does help for this theory. Another less talked about thing to back this up are these. These statues, while not common throughout Ruin, are prominently featured in it. Steelwool loves using the environment to tell a large chunk of FNAF's story. Heck, I made a whole video about just that. I didn't even mention this point in that video, but it's definitely a hint at something. In my opinion, it's yet another piece of evidence that points to this Freddy being the real Glamrock Freddy. My real big thought of this video though is something I mentioned a little earlier. It's about Fazbear Entertainment specifically. This company, whether being run by Afton, Henry, or during the time of Security Breach by other unnamed people, is so stingy with everything. The recent trailer for Secret of the Mimic even backs this up. They're aware that the Mimic isn't exactly safe, yet they want it anyway. All that's to say that Fazbear Entertainment will cut corners wherever necessary. Now, you might be thinking, why would that even be important to this theory? Well, think about it. If you're a company who puts money above all else, why would you make the investment to create a final version of this highly costly animatronic when the prototype model is working just fine? You wouldn't. That would be wasting money. I mean, the Glamrocks are by far the most advanced models in the series, so it makes sense why Fazbear decided it would be way better to just cover up the prototype tag with some paint and call it a day. That's the real theory in this video. The prototype tag was always there, and the company just covered it up with paint to hide that fact from the guests. The damage and decay of Glamrock Freddy causes the paint to fade away and reveal the text in Ruin. So, with my point being made, why does this actually matter to the story at all? Obviously, there's some lore implications here, most of which I went over previously, but I didn't talk about everything. The fact that he's a prototype does have huge implications for the lore, especially when making sense of the mess that is Security Breach. The main question that I believe this detail answers is why Freddy isn't controlled by Vanny in the base game. A lot of people think that Freddy shutting down on stage at the start of the game and booting up in safe mode is why he's not controlled, but I think that the details in Ruin change this. Freddy being a prototype means that he was likely created before the Pizzaplex was, or at the very least during its construction. It would mean that he likely doesn't have all the technology built into him that the other animatronics have as final versions. This would make him unable to be connected to the Pizzaplex, at least in the same way that the other characters are. In Ruin, you find out about the Vanny network and how all the animatronics are connected to it, all except one. Glamrock Freddy does not exist with the network, as indicated by him literally disappearing whenever you enter it. It makes sense for this to be the case because he's a prototype, which supports the fact that he's not under control in Security Breach. This theory is good, but not perfect. And honestly, no FNAF theory is perfect. This series is so messy and so complicated. I did find a couple of points to actually go against this theory, and I always think it's important to show these when theory crafting. The first detail is a weird one. The present box in his chest is different colors between the two games. Now, I personally think that this was just an artistic choice, as the present in Ruin is, in fact, Roxy themed to match Cassie's favorite animatronic. Combined with the fact that he only has a present in him at the very start of Security Breach and never again, I really think that this detail is not one that is meant to be taken seriously lore-wise. Still worth mentioning though. The other detail I want to bring up here comes from the gameplay trailer for FNAF Ruin. If you look closely, Freddy in this trailer does not have the word prototype on his foot, which is definitely an interesting oversight. This trailer came out about 2 months before the game was released, so I'm not too sure what to make of it. If you guys know why this might have been left out of the trailer, let me know in the comments below. It could honestly just have not been added yet, but I'm unsure. Whatever the case, I really don't believe that this inconsistency is important in determining the story, and I also think that using trailers instead of what they actually released is not a good way to make theories and go about it. And I think that if something is changed between a trailer and the final game, that we should always use the final game version before the trailer version. So that's the video. What are your thoughts on Proto Freddy? Did I miss any crucial details that you think I should be aware of? Let me know, as I will read every single comment you guys leave. Thank you so much for the support and for watching this far. If you did make it to the end here, consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video. It lets me know what you want to see more of. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye, superstars.